Hey everyone, Eileen here. So, Rachel Zegler landing the role of Snow White was supposed to be a huge win for Disney, a breakout star fresh off West Side Story, handpicked to bring one of animation's most legendary characters to life. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, not exactly. What should have been a major celebration turned into a full-blown controversy. Disney's choice to cast a Latina actress as Snow White sparked major debate. Some called it a bold, progressive move, while others, not so much.
I did. It was so fun. Oh my god, as a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23. Yeah. I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a flash. So it was so exciting to go, and my mom was super jealous because my mom is the reason I'm a Disney fan.
Okay. Disney framed it as a bold move, a commitment to diversity and inclusion. But not everyone saw it that way. Hardcore fans of the 1937 classic argued that Snow White's identity was inseparable from her fair skin, as described in the original fairy tale. And just like that, the internet exploded. Online forums, social media threads, and comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Was this casting a fresh take on a beloved character? Or was it rewriting history? Then came the bigger debate. Was Disney using legacy characters to push social messaging? For many fans, this wasn't just about Snow White. It was part of a growing trend where they felt modern ideology was taking priority over the integrity of classic stories. But that was nothing compared to what happened next. The real firestorm ignited when Rachel Zegler herself spoke out. Her comments on the original Snow White story only added fuel to the controversy, alienating the very audience Disney needed to win over. And trust me, we'll get into those remarks soon. But let's just say they did not do her any favors. As the backlash intensified, the stakes skyrocketed. This wasn't just another movie for Disney, it was a test. Could their reimagined classic still win over audiences and, more importantly, bring in box office gold? And for Rachel Zegler, this was a defining career moment. Would this role cement her as Hollywood's next big star, or would it bring her meteoric rise to a crashing halt? But hold on, it didn't stop there. The backlash kept building. And suddenly, Snow White wasn't just a movie anymore. It was ground zero for fan outrage and Disney's growing desperation. Even before its release, the film was already drowning in controversy. So, what exactly was Disney's vision for this reimagining? And more importantly, why did it push so many people over the edge? Let's break it down.
In the sense that we launched Disney Plus only in 2019, so it's just over 4 years ago. In a very, very short period of time, we find ourselves second to Netflix in terms of global subscribers for pure streaming business.
When Disney announced their live-action Snow White remake, one thing was clear. This wasn't going to be a simple, shot-for-shot recreation of the 1937 classic. Nope, this was going to be a modernized version, reimagined for today's audiences. On paper, it sounded like a bold, creative move. In reality, it became one of Disney's most controversial decisions ever. The first major shakeup, cutting out some of the most beloved elements of the original story. Say goodbye to the charming prince and that iconic true love's kiss. And romance, completely sidelined. Instead, Disney pushed a feminist retelling. Snow White wasn't a damsel in distress anymore, she was an independent leader. While that approach might have worked for some modern viewers, longtime fans felt betrayed. Then came the Seven Dwarfs, or rather, the lack of them. Early concept art and studio statements hinted that Disney was swapping out the classic dwarfs for a diverse group of magical creatures. The reason? Disney claimed it was to avoid outdated stereotypes, but fans weren't buying it. To them, this was just another case of Disney meddling with a beloved classic. But what really sent audiences into a rage was how Disney handled the backlash. Instead of addressing concerns, the studio seemed to dismiss criticism outright. Fans felt ignored, mocked, even. The response online? If you don't like it, don't watch it. That only added fuel to the fire, alienating the very people who had cherished the original for decades. And just when things couldn't get any worse, Disney dropped the first Snow White trailer. What should have been a major hype moment at the prestigious D23 Expo quickly became a disaster, pushing the controversy to an entirely new level. What should have been an exciting moment for Disney turned into an absolute nightmare. The trailer didn't just disappoint, it ignited a full-blown firestorm. Within minutes, fans flooded social media, tearing apart everything. the tone, the visuals, and, most of all, the changes Disney made to the beloved classic. The most glaring issue? The 7 dwarfs were missing. Instead, the trailer showcased a diverse group of human companions, a move that critics slammed as unrecognizable and completely out of touch. And then came the YouTube disaster. The like-to-dislike ratio was brutal, with dislikes reportedly outnumbering likes by over 12,000. For a Disney film, that's unheard of. But it didn't stop there. Hashtags calling for boycotts exploded online. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Snow White. It was about whether Disney was losing its magic touch. And how did Disney respond? By doubling down. Instead of addressing concerns, they framed the backlash as resistance to progress. That only made things worse. Fans felt dismissed, unheard, and angrier than ever. The trailer wasn't just a marketing misstep, it became symbolic of everything wrong with the project. But the real tipping point? Rachel Zegler. Just when the backlash was already at a boiling point, she stepped in, and her comments poured gasoline on the fire. Instead of calming things down, her words escalated the controversy to a whole new level. How did it all go down? Let's break it down. In the lead up to the film, Rachel Zegler didn't hold back when talking about the original Snow White, and that's where things really took a turn. Instead of celebrating the beloved classic, she called it outdated and problematic. She dismissed Snow White as a passive character who just sat around waiting for a prince, emphasizing that the remake would be all about empowerment and independence. Now, that might have resonated with some, but for a huge portion of Disney's fan base, it felt like a slap in the face. Fans who were already skeptical about the remake now felt outright insulted. To them, it wasn't just about changing the story. It was about Ziegler seemingly disrespecting a film that had shaped childhoods for generations. And social media erupted. Critics accused her of arrogance, questioning why she even took the role if she had so little respect for the original. Then it got worse. Clips of her interviews started going viral, and her tone, some found it dismissive, even mocking. Memes, parodies, and "who is this movie even for?" became the rallying cry for frustrated fans. Despite some damage control, including what many saw as a half-hearted apology, the damage was done. For many, Zegler's comments symbolized everything wrong with Hollywood's approach to remaking classics. But she wasn't the only one in hot water. Behind the scenes, Disney was scrambling to save the project, and the fallout was just beginning, and this wasn't happening in a vacuum. The Snow White controversy was just the latest flashpoint in a much bigger cultural debate. For years, Hollywood, especially Disney, has faced increasing pressure to push for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Reimagining beloved tales with more inclusive casts and themes has been celebrated by some, but it's also sparked major backlash. And now, Snow White was at the center of this ongoing battle.